"You're not a real nurse, you're just a distraction with a chest." The words exploded across the hospital corridor like a slap. Dr. Vance's voice was sharp, cruel, echoing off the sterile white walls as staff froze mid-step. Nurse Lila stood motionless, her gloved hands still trembling from the emergency delivery she'd just helped save. The baby had lived, the mother had smiled, and now her reward? Public humiliation. "I followed protocol," she said softly, her voice barely steady. The mother was hemorrhaging. You don't get to think," he snapped, his finger stabbing the air between them. "You're not here to make decisions. You're here to look good and follow orders. You're not a doctor. You're just the eye candy in scrubs." Then, without warning, he struck the chart across her forearm. Not hard enough to bruise, but loud enough to shame. The hallway fell into stunned silence. Interns looked away. The patient behind the curtain gasped. And Lila. She stood frozen in a storm of humiliation. "Go home, doctor," Vance ordered, dismissing her like trash. "You're suspended." She didn't cry, not in front of them, but as she walked away, her spine stiff, her eyes burned with the tears of 10 years of dedication dismissed in a single moment. Not for being wrong, but for daring to be right. That night, alone in her apartment, she replayed every second, every patient she'd held through pain, every child she'd delivered, every crisis she'd calmed, and all of it erased because her body didn't fit his definition of professional. But fate doesn't forget those who act from the heart. The next morning, just after sunrise, chaos erupted in the hospital lobby. A man burst through the doors, cradling a lifeless girl in his arms, screaming, "She's not breathing! Please, help!" Doctors scrambled, nurses hesitated, and then, out of nowhere, she appeared. Lila, in full scrubs, calm, focused, fierce. One nurse tried to stop her. "You're suspended!" But the child's mother screamed louder, "Let her through! That's the nurse who saved my baby!" No one moved fast enough, except Lila. She dropped to her knees, fingers to the girl's neck. No pulse, no breath. "She's coding," she said sharply. "I need a crash cart, now." The staff obeyed. Even Dr. Vance, standing frozen, couldn't speak. Lila took control, compressions, rescue breaths, adrenaline injection. Her hands moved like poetry, her voice calm thunder. And then, the girl gasped, a breath, then a cough, then a cry. The entire lobby exploded into applause. Parents wept, nurses clapped, even security saluted. The father fell to his knees, thanking her between sobs. Dr. Vance looked like he'd seen a ghost. Moments later, the hospital director approached, having watched it all through security feeds. "Lila," she said firmly, "come with me." In the boardroom, Dr. Vance sat waiting, arms folded, face pale. "She broke suspension protocol," he began, voice brittle. But the director cut him off. She saved a life. While you watched." She turned to Lila. "Effective immediately, you're not only reinstated, you're promoted." "Head of emergency nursing, doctor," Vance choked. "What? She can't—" "Oh, she can," the director snapped. "You'll report to her now, if you're still here by week's end." Lila didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She stood tall, her eyes steady on the man who once tried to belittle her into silence. "I'm not just a pretty face," she said softly. "I'm the hands that hold lives, and I won't let anyone shame that again." The room was silent. Dr. Vance looked down, defeated, not by scandal, but by truth. That afternoon, every nurse on the floor gathered in the same hallway where she was struck. They clapped. The janitor brought flowers. A patient whispered, "You saved my son." And Lila, she smiled through tears she didn't hide this time, not from shame, but from the power of finally being seen. So strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it heals. Sometimes it's dressed in scrubs and curves. And sometimes the most underestimated person in the room is the one who'll save it. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? If this story touched you, subscribe the channel and hit that like button and drop a karma in the comments below.